Hi everybody, today PhoneArena is presenting you a video comparison of the Nokia N8 and the Samsung Galaxy S. These are the current flagship smartphones of the world's largest and second largest cell phone manufacturers, Nokia and Samsung respectively. They're both touchscreen only devices, no QWERTY keyboards, but that's where the similarities end. Basically, when you have a look at the screens, that's the differences start to appear. The Samsung Galaxy S has a 4-inch Super AMOLED screen with 480 by 800 pixels of resolution, and the Nokia N8 has a regular AMOLED screen with the typical for Nokia touchscreen devices, 360 by 640 pixels of resolution. Both of the screens exhibit the typical for the AMOLED technology bright, vivid colors. The Samsung Galaxy S has special coating on the Super AMOLED screen, which prevents high reflectance in direct sunlight, but it also diminishes a little bit the viewing angle from 30 degrees, let's say. The colors and the brightness diminish a little bit, which is very untypical for an AMOLED based screen, whereas the regular AMOLED of the Nokia N8 keeps colors and brightness up until 10 to 170 degrees angle, let's say. But even then, the Samsung Galaxy S more than makes up for it in bright direct sunlight, and it's visible outside on par with the best LCD screens out there, which use backlighting constantly turned on. Nokia N8 has very decent sunlight visibility outside, but Nokia has done a good job with coating, but it's not on par with the Super AMOLED or the best LCDs out there. The way that both devices feel in the hand is also very different. The Nokia N8 feels very solid. It's the heavier device and thicker than the Samsung Galaxy S, but it's pleasant to hold, lies comfortably in the hand, almost perfect fit. Whereas the Samsung Galaxy S is lighter than the Nokia N8, and it's also very thin, but it still feels solid for its dimensions, so kudos to Samsung that it managed to make such a thin handset with a 4-inch screen without you feeling that it's too big for your pocket or in your hand. The two devices couldn't be more different in terms of materials chosen for their construction. The Samsung Galaxy S is made almost entirely of plastic. See the back, the sides and the front. It's all around plastic built, which has its positives, of course, because it makes the phone lighter, and that's important in a phone of that size. And actually it's less rigid than metal, which will prevent the Super AMOLED screen from breaking when it drops. Whereas the Nokia N8 is crafted out of a single sheet of anodized aluminum. It's a beautiful piece of industrial design. You see the laser-etched logo here around the camera and around the sides, the elevated area where the camera is hosted, and also the precision cuts here for the buttons. Overall, the only plastic parts are here at the bottom and at the top, which has something to do with reception. Nokia placed the antennas near these plastic parts to make sure the reception doesn't suffer when traveling through metal. Both the Samsung Galaxy S and the Nokia N8 have a single physical button under the screens. That's the home key. But the Galaxy S has the typical Android buttons, capacitive back button and menu key here, whereas on the Nokia N8 there are virtual buttons. Options and back are on the screen, taken up from screen real estate, but that's Symbian related. If we look around the handsets, we'll notice that the Samsung Galaxy S keeps it simple with just 4 or 5 elements around it. Volume rocker, mic USB port, standard audio jack, lock unlock button and power key in one. And then we have the 5 megapixel camera on the back and the speaker grill, and that's about it. If we have a look at the Nokia N8, we'll see that there are more than 10 elements, ports and openings just around the sides of the phone, not counting the back where the camera is. That's because the phone has additional functionalities not present in the Galaxy S, and also some design decisions of the Nokia team. For example, they decided to make the battery in the Nokia N8 non-removable and took out the two slots that are visible when you take out the battery cover in the Galaxy S and place them on the side of the Nokia N8. That's the micro SD card slot, which takes up to 32 gigabytes of cards, which combined with the 16 gigabyte internal memory in the Nokia N8 make for quite a large memory pool in the device overall. And also the SIM card slot is here, so you don't need to take the battery cover to swap it, which is a welcome change. The micro USB port unprotected. Then on the top we have standard audio jack, power button, and the HDMI out port, which can show the content, movies with surround sound on a big screen TV. It's protected with a plastic cover. On the right side we have volume rocker, lock and lock slider here, and a dedicated camera button. On the back is the 12 megapixel camera with xenon flash and the speaker grill. Overall, the N8 is much more complicated in terms of elements around it, but still that industrial design screams functionality. The big change in Symbian 3 as found on the Nokia N8 is the presence of home screens and widgets. Like in Android handsets, you have 3 home screens with up to 6 widgets each. The slot for each widget is with one and the same size, unlike in Android where you have big widgets, or you can eventually add something smaller. Let's say a door clock. Let's see how small this one is compared to the big daily briefing widgets of Samsung, whereas here we only have one and the same size slots for all of the widgets, and 3.5-inch screen frankly can get cluttered really quickly if you place a lot of widgets at one and the same place. Both phones have simple dialers that are very easy to use. Of course, the 4-inch screen has the bigger numbers, easier to press, but smart dial is supported in the Galaxy S and in the Nokia N8 as well. There's easy access to contacts straight from the dialer screen, as you can see. Regarding messaging, Nokia N8 finally comes with a threaded view for conversations. See this, the little balloons here, similar to Cartoon Talk, and it also allows search in the message inbox, but you can only search for the sender, not the text of the message itself. While here there are no messages, but you can search for the sender or a word in the messages itself, which is very handy. Nokia N8 offers social networking integration in contacts, but it's much more cumbersome to set up than the one in TouchWiz 3.0. It actually here's as simple as pulling in all your Facebook or Twitter information, and the activities and history show here, including all the pictures your friends have uploaded, etc. Whereas here, for example, if we want to set up a contact, we have to look it up here. It connects to Hovi, and here we go. That's the way you look at your friend's profile instead of everything being integrated in the phone book, but still it's a welcome functionality that the previous Symbian iterations didn't have. Let's have a look at the calendars now. The one on the Galaxy S is a pleasure to use on account of the big 4-inch screen, various views, day, week, month, and you can easily see all your events and appointments precisely because of the big screen, whereas the one on the Nokia N8 has received a little bit of do-over, some polishing compared to the previous version. Makes it much more pleasant to look at now. There are the same options for review by week, by date, etc. Setting up something is easy as well. An alarm, adding an alarm or note, attachment description, all the basic functionalities of a calendar are here. So both handsets have very decent calendar and organizer functions. The email clients on both handsets are very good. On the Samsung Galaxy S, we have a versatile email client and can handle up to 10,000 messages back in time for offline viewing, 10 megabytes size with the different attachments, and you can set up most of the popular services and search for the emails that you have offline. Whereas on the Nokia N8, of course, it takes a little bit more steps to find something than on Android. There's the mail client. That's a mock-up email account, inbox, message write-up. And if we try to set up a new account, all the popular services are here. Email, Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, Exchange, as well as different services typical for the country that the Nokia N8 is sold at. Overall, good email experience on both handsets. Okay, now we've reached the browser comparisons. Browsers are one of the most used features in today's smartphones. So let's have a look at usability and speed. The Samsung Galaxy S browser is the default Android 2.1. There's no support for desktop Adobe Flash, but it's a minimalistic interface and it's easy to use. For example, going to a website takes 1 step, 2 for typing the address, 3 in total. And the website starts loading. Even though it hasn't loaded completely, we can do kinetic scrolling smoothly. Pinch to zoom works very well too. Text reflow works. The whole website fits into the screen, as you can see. Double tap to zoom. Overall, very pleasant experience. And even though it doesn't support Adobe Flash, the desktop version, flash shots can be seen here. Whereas if we turn to the Nokia N8 browser, entering a web address takes 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. On the Galaxy S, we are already on the website with 3 steps. 4th step, actually typing the web address. And here we have to address the other shortcoming of the Nokia N8. This portrait keyboard only supports T9 and triple tap, which is circa 2002. Of course, you can turn it around and use the landscape keyboard, but again it takes the whole screen, the keyboard and text box, like in portrait mode, and you don't really have the options to turn this off. With much, see it as an overlay on the user interface instead of a separate screen, and we can't see which field are we typing at. 5th step to confirm, and 6th step. Okay, now we have double the steps to enter a website address and visit it then on the Samsung Galaxy S. That's what we would call a time waster. The website itself loaded without text reflow. We have to pan left and right to see the whole page. It doesn't fit into the screen. On this Symbian 3 browser, pinch to zoom works, as well as kinetic scrolling, but it's pretty choppy, especially if we have Flash components on the website, like here, the Flash chat. We can't actually see, although theoretically this browser supports Flashlight 4.0. Here we can see it. And the overall experience with the browser and the keyboard, the text input on the Nokia N8 is pretty basic. Nokia is promising to address these issues in a firmware update, but out of the box, the Symbian 3 web browser and portrait keyboard and text input overall feels like something left out of Symbian 1. And now let's have a look at the gallery of both handsets. The one in the Samsung Galaxy S supports 3D effects. It's interestingly animated. Whereas here we have photos in one place, a grid of thumbnails and videos in another. What we actually like, you see Dolby Digital Plus. If the video is encoded in Dolby Digital Plus, that's the way it will be played, and also on a big screen TV, which is a definite advantage over the Samsung Galaxy S. And a tribute to the numerous functionalities of the Nokia N8. One of the outstanding features of the Nokia N8 is the 12 megapixel camera with Xenon flash. So let's have a look at the camera interface on the Samsung Galaxy S. It's very touch optimized, since all the interaction is through the touch screen. A lot of preset scene modes, big icons, easy to press, and a lot of effects and scenes that you can set up. Easy to swap between camera mode and photographic mode. Easy to enter the gallery from here. Overall, it's a very touch optimized interface, whereas the one on the Nokia N8 is a little bit cumbersome to use. Small icons. It's easy to press something else than what you intended accidentally. Double tap to select is still present here, but it offers an enormous amount of functionality, including separate settings for contrast and sharpness, as well as a very decent digital zoom in video mode, although the slider here is easy to press accidentally as well. Overall, it's a functional interface, but it's not as touch optimized as the one on the Galaxy S. Let's examine the menus of both handsets. Grids with icons on different pages. That's what the TouchWiz 3.0 menu interface is. Whereas on the Nokia N8 we have a list, or we can switch it to a grid view as well, which just scrolls up and down if we have more shortcut icons to the applications. There are a lot of pre-installed applications and games on the Nokia N8 out of the box, but of course the Office Store cannot beat the quantity of apps on Android market. Let's have a look at the YouTube client. Okay, this one on the Galaxy S is a dedicated YouTube client whereas here it looks like we're just going to the mobile version of the website. Not very smooth the way we see the actual video. Have to double tap to bring it to full screen, and this progress bar here stays on all the time, whereas on the Galaxy S it will hide a few seconds after the movie starts. See how pretty everything looks on the Super AMOLED screen. Multitasking in both handsets has been taken care of in the same way. You long press the home button and you see all the active applications. Here it's in card view, which shows a screenshot of the application that you have currently running, which is very useful, and that's what we call true multitasking. As a wrap-up to our video comparison, I would say that which handset you will choose depends on the usage scenarios. For example, if you plan to watch a lot of movies, play games, and read documents or browse web pages on the go, for example on your commute, you'll probably go with Samsung Galaxy S on account of the 4-inch Super AMOLED screen and the blazing fast graphics processor. If, on the other hand, you're enticed by the multimedia features like a 12 megapixel camera with Xenon flash and HDMI out port, you'll probably go with the Nokia N8. This was a video comparison of the Samsung Galaxy S and the Nokia N8 by PhoneArena.